Hello faculty, this is John coming to you from Old Main. Today I'm going to give you this first online module which gives you a run-through of the fundamentals of digital and online media. If you want to learn more about the course, there's a Media Shift article that is posted in this module, and you can also check out my course site at johnsmickley.com/digital. And this course was developed by Dr. Cindy Royal. It was created out of a class called Social Media at Work, which taught students how to use social media in a work setting. And it has since developed into a required course in the School of Journalism and Mass Comm, where students are required to blog, they're required to create videos, online videos, they're supposed to create an online digital presence using social media, and using social media to build their online brand while in college. So there are a lot of different elements to this class, and though it has been taught in a classroom setting and in some online environments, right now I teach it as a hybrid, but it always contains the same information more or less. And so this video is going to show you the basics of what is taught in the fundamentals of digital and online media, and it's going to be kind of a crash course. So if there are questions that you have, if there's more information that you want, those will be provided in this module as we go, and you can go ahead and learn those things. We have tutorials for the class, we have handouts, we have lots of resources if you want to learn more about any particular topic. So without further ado, we're going to go into the actual subject matter of the course, and I will show you guys that in a PowerPoint. This presentation is going to show you what we cover in the fundamentals of digital and online media. First, we start out in the course to show students some basic tools that they can start using today that maybe they have been using in a very social way or just with their friends or close acquaintances and areas of influence, and showing them how they can start using it to further their personal brand. And maybe they've never even thought about their personal brand, but we talk about some basic tools and ways that they can get started with free online digital tools that can start building their brand today, that media companies are using and are expecting of many of their employees to learn and to know as they walk into these new job positions. So that's what we kind of talk about the first day, kind of getting our feet wet with some new digital tools that maybe they hadn't heard of or had not thought about using in a professional way. Then we move on to blogging, where they are going to start their own blogs, and we talk about the importance of blogging and how to develop their personal brand and use this blog and this website as a hub to promote, to use to point people back using social media. Then we get into an introduction to the internet and web, where we cover the basics of the internet, and a lot of them come in with the misconception that the internet is the web or the web is the internet. We kind of talk about the difference of them, and then we talk about some other buzzwords and things that they may have heard as it relates to the internet and web. Then we move on to HTML, CSS, and web coding and the web environment. They actually make their own web pages and learn some HTML. And then we go on to Google and talk about how Google works, how search works, and then what websites need in order to come up higher in search results, so SEO, search engine optimization. Then we talk a little bit more about social media and how they can be creating content that is effective and that is reaching the right communities, and how content should be native to each platform. And we talk about that. We talk about the mobile environment and the onset of mobile devices and the prevalence of responsive websites and the onset of apps. And then we talk about multimedia skills like digital photography, design, digital audio like podcasting, and digital video, and some editing as well, where they'll have some assignments. Then we talk about data journalism and data storytelling, and look at some interactives and how we can leverage the large kind of onset of data that we see everywhere, that we're in the information age, that we can leverage to tell stories and to see trends and Then we go into some online business models and talk about the changing media landscape and some creative ways to find to monetize a lot of the stuff that most people get online for free. And then finally we end with some legal and ethical issues in new media. And so that's what we're basically going to cover today in this module. You're going to get to learn the basics of what we cover in the fundamentals of digital and online media. So, like I said earlier, the first day we cover some digital tools that they can start using today and start giving examples of how, like campus at Texas State University uses Twitter and how students can jump into the hashtag and be part of a greater community. And I talk about how their personal brand really consists of what they say about themselves. So that's the posts that they make on Facebook and the updates that they create on Twitter and the pictures that they post to Instagram. Those are all things that they create themselves. Their personal brand is also made up of the info trail that follows them, the websites that they visit, the analytics that certain websites have on their web history, the data that big companies have on them that becomes part of their personal brand as it relates to their digital footprint. And then third, what others say about them. So what others have posted, other photos that parents or friends have tagged them in on Facebook. And all those three areas all make up their digital footprint and what a company or a person or somebody could say about them that may or may not be true, but it is out on the web. And that's kind of what we talk about. It is made up of web activity, any kind of activity that they've done on the web, everything from browsing history to how long they were at a website to how long or how they got to a website, what they clicked on once they got there. That's all data that companies have on us. And any website that they have created, maybe they have a blog or they have a certain website, and that obviously goes into the mix. Any social media that they have updated, any social media that others have updated about them, and even students who are wary of going on certain social media sites realize pretty soon that it is very difficult to scrape the web of your persona. Even if you're not the one updating, somebody else will be updating about you or uploading photos of you, whether or not you know it a lot of times. Articles that they have been in, or articles, maybe they're in the background of a photo or something in a news article, or there's just all kinds of ways for people to come up online and be seen. Pictures that might show up obviously on social media, videos that pop up, things that maybe they didn't even know that they were in. All these things add to the overall persona of their personal brand, even comments that are written or likes, their activity. So all of these things I tell students are all part of their digital footprint. And the main takeaway from this is there's almost no escape from being online in some way. And so the one thing that they have control over, they may not have a lot of control over who tags them in what photos, or a video that was uploaded, or something somebody else said in a comment about them, but what they do have control over is what they say about themselves, that yellow circle. They have a lot of control right now as they walk into job interviews, as they start working for companies, to say whatever they want about themselves on social media or build an online brand or presence that can only help them in the future. And so we really take this data, really start thinking about some ways that they can really start honing their online presence and at least thinking about it to where that they can start saying positive things about themselves, not just positive things, but being effective with their messaging about themselves as professionals and as people, and hopefully get that job that they want to get based on their online personal brand. So we start the class out with Twitter. I require all the students to get a Twitter account, and if you have never created a Twitter account, you can do so with the and so on the first day of class, I require everyone to walk out of class with the homework of creating a Twitter account. And the reason I do that is because we have a class hashtag that we use, and we use it kind of as a way to get their feet wet with some using social media in a more professional way than maybe they had in the past. And so I talk about mentions and using a username. When you put the @ symbol before the username, it means that you're mentioning that person. And we talk about hashtags and how they're used to talk about trending topics that are happening in the world, or if there is an event happening somewhere, they can be part of that event. Even media companies have their own hashtags, and it's kind of like a back channel. It's a way for people to communicate about a specific topic or subject. And so we have one for our class. It's called the FDOM 16, and every year it changes to that year. But Texas State has its own hashtag. Be a Bobcat is another hashtag that Texas State uses a lot. And what is great about it is they learn not only how to be part of a community within the class, because I have 2 different sections and they can communicate to one another and with our GAs and myself, but they can also communicate with the larger community of Texas State and begin to communicate with people on that level. And so it's a good test media site to learn how hashtags work, to learn how mentions work. I tell them that it's a great way to build and engage communities that are already out there. They may want to use hashtags to connect with other students within the class, but they also might want to use hashtags to connect with people that are outside of the class. And again, it's a great way to build community. One way that I've used it, and I've seen it being used effectively in the classroom, is not just me talking to students, but students helping each other and using Twitter to communicate with each other, to help each other on assignments and clarify material, and just to kind of promote what they're doing in the class. It's a great way to build community right within our classroom. And then I kind of cap it off with this Twitter scavenger hunt assignment where every student has to complete 10 different tasks. And maybe you're a faculty member who's been interviewed for this, but students are required to go around campus and find 10 different, solve 10 different challenges, including interviewing professors on the street, interviewing students, taking a picture of their favorite place to eat on campus. And again, this is a great way for them to build community and learn how social media works outside of maybe the way that they've used it in the past. Now, we use the term blogging in this class, but it is a bit of an antiquated term. We talk about the history of blogging and how it kind of became a thing around 9/11, but we also talk about how really Matt Thompson of now The Atlantic, he used to work at NPR, but he kind of said, why do we even use the word blogging anymore? We should just use the word content, because almost any site you go to is going to have content on it, and in a lot of ways it's a blog, but it seems like it's kind of an antiquated term these days. So you go to vicenews.com, these are news items, and a lot of people might call them blogs, but really it's news. And so almost any site is going to have, obviously, a news element to it. And so I like to use the word news, content, strategic content, and blog all kind of interchangeably. And this is, the ESPN. This is a wrap-up of the Seattle Seahawks from last year. And so you can see it looks like it's an article, but it's got text on it. It's got images, and it's got links, and these are all the things that we're requiring students to be updating. And so blogging, again, kind of seems like an antiquated term, but what we're talking about is content. Content is king, and if they don't have good content on their blogs, then they're not going to have anything to promote on social media. And so that's really what we focus on, content, making sure that they're updating their blogs, and that is one big requirement for this course. We do use WordPress.com. WordPress.com is an open platform. It's free, and there is a tutorial here in this module as well. If you want to get started with WordPress.com, it will show you the basics of creating an account and then how to work within your dashboard to create a post and page, and really start building an online website for free, and it's pretty easy. So we require every student to have a blog, and they must update this WordPress blog or this WordPress content throughout the semester. They're graded 4 different times, and I think that's a roughly about 11 posts for the whole semester, which really isn't that much, but we really do harp on them to get their own images. We want them to have links, relevant links for every post, and really, again, focusing on new content. Not something that you can already find on wikipedia.com or any other website, but this is new information. So a lot of students have come up with really fun topics. I use this, the School of Journalism and Mass Comm website blog as an example for them. And this is kind of the back end of WordPress, where you can, once you log in and create an account, you'll see this in the modules to follow. This is one student project. It was just about owning a pet in college, owning a dog in college. This is another one that a student made about music in Austin. Here's another one. It's all about fitness. And so students seem to have a lot of fun with updating content, making sure that it's relevant, making sure that it's new, and a lot of times they continue these sites outside of class. So if you are ready to create your own blog, you can go for it at wordpress.com. You can watch the tutorials below to get started. And then beyond the blog, I kind of start out with the blog just because they want to get ready and get working on some projects, and so obviously that's a big part of the class is the blog. But then I kind of backtrack a little bit and talk about the internet, talk about the progression of the internet and the history of it, how it was commissioned by the U.S. government as an alternative communication platform outside of the telephone network, and this is basically the beginning of the internet was the ARPANET, and there is a history of the internet video that is also available in this module that you can watch that is very informative on the first kind of steps towards creating this platform, this communication network. So you'll see the ARPANET was created in the 1960s, developed in the 1970s. Around 1971, email came, and then we have the TCP/IP protocol in 1983. All that means is that it allows these different networks to speak to each other. Instead of having lots of different internets, we have one internet that everyone can talk to each other. Every computer can talk to every other computer, and so the importance of standardization obviously is still very important today, making sure computers can talk to one another. It's a very important step in this process. The World Wide Web was developed in 1991, and it was created by Sir Tim Berners-Lee, and then in 1993 the first visual browser came about, created by Mark Andreessen. It was Mosaic is the name of that browser. I believe the code has now turned into Firefox, so if you ever use Firefox, it's basically the same code. And then AOL and the internet was in the hands of every person once AOL came on the scene. So that's just a quick timeline, very, very quick, but watch that history of the internet video, and that'll give you a lot more good information about the progression of the internet. Now, the internet is a public network. That's really what it is. It's computers that are connected to one another, that are speaking to one another. It's as simple as that, but it's as complex as that, which is not very easy. The internet is different from the World Wide Web. The internet is the communication platform. It is the network that computers communicate on, but the World Wide Web runs on the internet. It needs the internet to work. The internet, think of the World Wide Web as maybe channels on cable, but the internet is the actual pipes that connect you to the cable provider. So the World Wide Web is really a form of content. It's a platform for people to create their own pages and their own world that are also connected together in a sort of network, but they're hyperlinked to one another. And so the World Wide Web needs the internet to run, but the internet obviously does not need the World Wide Web to run. There's a lot that people can do on the internet that's not the World Wide Web. And so we talk about that, the difference. We also talk about lots of different buzzwords that people hear: servers, and basically servers are computers that are computers that are on all the time, that host files and HTML files and maybe music files and all kinds of things. And if you ever see the Texas State server is down, or if you ever see the 404 error on your browser, it means that whatever computer that your file was on is now off, or it's not connected, or maybe it's, computers are always having to do reboots and updates and things like that. And so if your server is down, that means the computer that is hosting your files is off at the moment. IP addresses, every device has a specific phone. Every device has its own number assigned to it, and those are IP addresses. The cloud is really basically a way to store information on a server that is not your own computer, and there's cloud computing. It's a way to connect your device and access your files that are not necessarily on your local device. URL, Uniform Resource Locator, that's the address that you see up in the address bar of any browser. We have Web 2.0, we have bits and bytes, browsers, bandwidth, net neutrality. There's all kinds of buzzwords that we talk about and clear up, and that's kind of where we get a lot of this out of the way on the first day of class. The third day of class. Then we get into HTML. HTML is really just a language, and I explained to students that really all you need, although it is a new language, it runs on the idea of tags, and once they know HTML, I tell them that it is just a tool in their toolbox. We don't learn code just to learn code because it's cool. We learn code because it allows us to create projects. It allows us to communicate on this platform known as the World Wide Web. It gives us a lot of options, and it also is pretty good to see on a resume as well. But it's just one of the many tools that they can put in their toolbox. It is the language of the web. Every single web page that they browse is written in HTML, and so it's important for us to know that. A lot of students later in life find that they're required not just to work at an ad agency, but they're also required to update the logo on their website, and they have to go into the website to find where that logo is. They have to be able to read and have a literacy with HTML to understand what's happening. And we say that it is a language, so it's kind of hard to learn. It takes time. It takes kind of an immersion into this stuff to really understand what's happening, but it is hypertext markup language. And if you've ever heard of HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, you ever see that in the address bar, that's basically saying it's a protocol for computers to send and receive HTML, World Wide Web files. And so that's really what we're talking about. These files can be created in any number of editors and coded. HTML is written to focus on content and structure. What we're talking about when we create an HTML page is we're focusing mostly on making sure the content is written, and then also that that content is structured within the correct code. And so all that means is that every code is a command. The code that you're telling the browser what to do is listed as a tag, and there are lots of different tags. You can see there are 5 different tags up in the top there: HTML, image, A, which stands for anchor, and that's for links, if you wanted to put a link in. UL stands for unordered list, if you wanted to create an unordered list, and OL stands for ordered list. And so each of those tags, if you can imagine, they're basically telling the browser to do something. They're commands. They're telling the browser to complete a command. So for example, the img tag is telling the browser to create an image. The A tag is telling the browser that a link is now happening. And so all these different tags are used to basically tell a browser what to do. And that's what we talk about when I say content and structure. We're focusing on creating content on websites using HTML, but then making sure that that content is structured correctly so a browser can understand it. So you can see 3 different images down at the bottom here. One is a W, another is an S, and another is a lizard. And those are 3 different programs that you might want to use when you are editing HTML. Text Wrangler is the one on the left. It's for Mac computers. Sublime Text is the one in the middle, and that is for Macs or PCs. and then Notepad++ is for PCs only. And if you want to create your own HTML page, there is another tutorial in this module that will show you how to create your own HTML page. But this is basically what it looks like. This is the text Wrangler, and you can see that I created those tags, and I told the browser what to do on line 1, and then I told it to stop doing that on line 11. So those slashes with the tag also mean not just what to do, but what to stop doing. So you can see on line 7 it says H1, that means heading 1, it's the largest size of heading. Start making an H1, and then fill it with content, and then stop doing that H1. So you can see right in that line 7, I'm talking about content, which is in the black, and then the structure, which is in the blue. And so that's really what we focus on in trying to let them know that any tag they open, they also have to close, basic standards of tags, and then they have to memorize different tags. Then we deal with CSS. CSS is another language. It stands for Cascading Style Sheet. It's not responsible for content and structure. It's responsible for the design and layout. There's not a whole lot you can do with just HTML and design, and so CSS was invented to control the design. So colors and spacing and padding and all kinds of different things are controlled with CSS, and it works with HTML. And so they work hand in hand to develop the content and the structure and the design and the layout of most web pages. It's placed in the head of code, and so when you get to that spot, if you want to go through those tutorials on creating your own HTML page, you'll see that it is created in the head. And then you have we have an HTML and CSS assignment that we require students to go through. Then so there's some CSS for you. And so then we talk about Google and search, and it's very relevant at this point in the semester because students are just learned how to create their HTML page, and a lot of the reason that a website would come up higher or lower in search is as a result of how well their code works and a lot of the other metadata that's in their code. And so basically how search works is spiders, which are like bots. They're little programs that are sent out into the World Wide Web, and they crawl the web. They basically, if you look at the example of Mustang, it will go out, these little bots will take that word and it will go search the entire World Wide Web, all the code, everything that it can find, and it will find every time the word Mustang came up, and it will bring it back and it will index it into a big spreadsheet, if you can imagine that, and then it would there's a certain algorithm that Google has that will then rank those websites accordingly. And as you can see, the word Mustang, Ford basically comes up with most of these, especially in the first few results, in that nobody is paying for or trying to make sure that the horse Wikipedia page, the Mustang horse, is coming up, right? I mean, everybody is making sure, everyone at Ford wants to make sure that the first results are always Ford Mustangs. And so, you know, they obviously understand how search works, and they're using the algorithm or what they know of the algorithm to make sure that when somebody types in Mustang, the Ford Mustang comes up and not the horse. And what we're talking about here is search engine optimization, and there are lots of different components to this algorithm, but a few of them are outside links, what other websites are linking to yours, what keywords are being typed in, how many times are you using that keyword on your website. It's looking at the code, it's looking at alt tags, it's looking at file names, frequency of updates. All these kinds of things matter when it comes to search engine optimization.